In the previous couple of exercises, we learned how to dismantle a fan, remove the rotor and stator from it, and then remove the windings in them. In this exercise, we are going to see the procedure to prepare formers for making coils and the way to rewind the coils using those formers.
Talking about motor rewinding, some types of AC winding are diamond coil winding, skein winding, and concentric winding. In the case of diamond coil winding, the shape of the coil used is just like a diamond, and in this, the coil occupies more space. In skein winding, a long coil of sufficient length is first wound and then inserted in one slot. The remaining length is turned and inserted in the adjacent slots. In concentric winding, there are two or more coils in a group, and the coils in each group have the same center. In each group, the coil pitch is not equal and therefore do not overlap each other. Though it requires effort to insert the coils due to different coil spans, the design allows more cooling space. This type of winding is usually done in single-phase motor winding. Now, first, let's see how to make a former for diamond-shaped coils. Reshape the coil and measure the internal length and width directly, and then also measure the thickness of the coil. For making the winding frame, take a piece of wood of the same thickness as that of the coil and cut it to the length and width of the coil that we measured. File the edges until the coil snugly fits on the winding frame. The winding frame should be slightly tapered on one side to make it easy for the coil to slide out after it is wound. Now, for the side boards of the winding frame, take two pieces of wood larger than the winding frame. The length and breadth of these boards should be greater than the winding frame so as to accommodate the turns of the coil. Fix the winding frame centrally on one side of the side board with the help of screws. Let the tapered portion be away from the first side board. Next, fix the other side board on the winding frame centrally with the help of fixing screws. Make slots on the side board with the help of hacksaw so as to reach the surface of the winding frame. Now, mark the center of the assembly and drill a hole of M10 size. This is for mounting the assembly for winding purpose. Do not forget to insert twine threads through the slits before starting to wind. After winding the required number of turns, tie the twine threads over the coil to hold them tight. Remove the coil from the former by detaching the second side board. Do not make other coils unless the coil made is checked for its size and correctness. Insert the coil inside the slots of the stator according to the original pitch. The coil should neither be too tight nor loose in the slots. If it's not right, do the necessary modification in the former to correct it. Start preparing the required number of coils only after this. This completes the process involved in making a former and winding a diamond-shaped coil. Next, let's see how to make a former for skein winding. Take a wooden board of sufficient length and breadth to accommodate the prepared loop. Use 4 wooden spools and nail them onto the board. Hand wind the required number of turns of the skein. Make sure that you tie the turns together using a twine thread before removing the coil from the board. Do not make any further coils unless the size of this coil is checked for correctness. Next, let's see how to make a former for concentric coils. This type of winding has 2 or more coils in a group and the coils in each group have the same center. This type of winding is usually provided in single-phase motors. Make formers like these and mount them on an adjustable sliding bracket. Each block should be assembled in such a way that they can be separated after the winding is completed for easy removal of the wound coils. Next, adjust the distance between the wooden formers according to the size of the measured wires and fix them in that position with a bolt nut system. Wind the required number of turns according to each coil in the set, starting from the smallest coil. It's important to tie the coils with twine threads at several places to keep the turns in position. Dismantle the blocks and remove the coils together. Place the coils in their respective slots, starting from the smallest coil. Use temporary wedges in the slots soon after the coil is inserted in the respective slot. After all the coils of the group are placed, check the distance between the coils as well as the overhang measurement. Proceed to make the other sets of coils only if this is found correct.
In this exercise, we learned to make formers for winding different types of coils and also learned to wind coils using them. First, we made a former for diamond-shaped coils and wound a coil using it. Next, we made a former for skein winding and also wound a coil. Then finally, we made a former for concentric coils and wound coils using it.